What's going on, guys? It's me, Noah, here, and today I am here to talk about my most anticipated movies coming out this year. So this is always one of my favorite things to talk about because obviously, there's so many things to be excited about, so many movies to look forward to. But the craziest thing that always happens is that when I go to make my top 10 movies of the year at the end of the year, there's always so many movies that when I made my most anticipated lists that I hadn't even heard of yet. So, mind you, a lot of the movies on this list are ones that are just very popular, like known properties and things like that. And a lot of the best movies that will come out this year in 2025, I'm sure, are things that we haven't even heard of yet. So, I'm not really ranking this list. There is an order of which I am more excited for movies. I will talk about the ones I'm more excited for towards the end, but they're not really ranked. This is generally just a list of movies I am excited for and why I'm excited for them. So the first few movies that I have on this list are ones that are by directors that I like and just have actors that I like in them as well. So the first one is going to be The Life of Chuck. Now, this was a movie that premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2024. I was actually working for that event, so I got to see Tom Hiddleston and a lot of these actors that were there for that. But I'm really excited for this movie. It got a 2025 release date, so it's one that is just on this list. And I believe it's about the life of, well, obviously the life of Chuck, but just throughout his entire life. I don't exactly know the structure of the story or anything like that, but it is one I'm looking forward to. So next up, we have The Bride. This is a different take on the Bride story with Frankenstein, and this one excites me because you have Christian Bale will be playing Frankenstein's monster in this story, and it's just something I'm excited for. Maggie Gyllenhaal is directing, so I hope that this movie turns out really good. I'm sure towards the end of the year, this one could end up pretty high on the top 10 list. Now, next up is a movie that I don't really know anything about because I haven't seen the original or read the book, but this is The Running Man, starring Glenn Powell. But the reason that I'm very excited about it is because it is Edgar Wright, and Edgar Wright hasn't made a movie in a little while. And basically, whenever this guy is tied to a movie, it's going to be one that a lot of people look forward to. So that is why it's on the list. Now, next up is one that we have seen trailers for, and it actually looks really good. This is Sinners by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan. And everything about this movie just makes me excited. I love vampire stories. I love Michael B. Jordan. I think this guy is one of the best actors in the entire world. And then Ryan Coogler, of course, the director of Black Panther and Creed. It feels like a recipe for success. These guys have worked together before, and it just feels like a story that should be hopefully really well done. Now, next up, I'm going to pair these two together. This is going to be Captain America Brave New World and Thunderbolts. These are two of the MCU movies that will be coming out this year, and I'm reasonably excited for both of them. I'm a lot more excited for Thunderbolts than I am Captain America, and it's not that I think Captain America looks bad. It's just this story is confusing. It's a Captain America story. It's the first time that Sam Wilson's going to finally get to take the mantle of Captain America for real in the big screen, but he's fighting a Red Hulk, which is obviously, a Hulk villain. The main villain of the film is apparently the Leader, which is another Hulk villain. It's just confusing. It feels like because Marvel doesn't really have the full rights to Hulk, that they're just kind of telling these stories in other places, and I feel like Sam, for his first movie as Captain America, he deserves a better story. I mean, I hope it's really good. Harrison Ford's in it, and it looks like a solid movie. It actually looks more like Winter Soldier, but not super excited for it. But Thunderbolts has me very interested because it's, a bunch of characters from different properties kind of coming together for an Avengers Suicide Squad style movie. And I like the Dark Avengers and the Thunderbolts and the comics and things of that matter. And I think there is a good chance that that's what the movie will be going into. But I think this one could be really confusing for a lot of people who haven't watched Black Widow and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Hawkeye and whatever, all these characters are coming from, Ant-Man and the Wasp. There's a lot of things where you need to have seen a lot of movies for it to make sense, but the fact that it's being, made by the people that worked on Beef and The Bear just get me really, really excited because those are such a talented group. So let's just hope these movies are going to be good, and that's why I group them together. So next up is, I believe, the only animated movie that I'm going to be talking about today. I'm sure there's going to be lots of great ones that are coming out next year that I just haven't put on this list, but this is Elio. This is Pixar returning to an original story once again, and I think that unfortunately Pixar, in terms of popularity, I would say has probably fallen off a little. Like, obviously Inside Out 2 is the highest grossing animated film of all time, so it's a very wild thing for me to say. But I think that something like Elio, which is an original property, won't get the same love that Inside Out 2 does for obvious reasons. And people have kind of fallen into that, like, well, I'll watch it when it's on Disney Plus. And I really hope this is a return. Like, I love Soul. I'm wearing the sweater for it right now. I love Luca. I thought Turning Red was really good. And I love these kind of original ideas, and I hope that this one is just a real return to form for Pixar in terms of the box office success and just critical success. I'm really hoping that this one can bring them right back to where they were. So now we're getting into movies that I'm like really excited about, and the first one I'm going to talk about here is Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. And this one's just easy. I mean, Knives Out 1 is an incredible movie. It's so well done, and I thought Glass Onion was really good. It wasn't as good as Knives Out, at least in terms of rewatchability, but Glass Onion was, again, just a great experience. I did manage to catch it in theaters for that, like, 4 days they had it in theaters, and just a wonderful movie, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Rian Johnson's a great writer and a great director, and when he takes these ensemble casts and makes a great mystery out of it, it's just something I'm going to look forward to, and I really hope they put it in theaters again. Next up, we have Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, and this one is one I am so excited about, but I'm also so sad that Andrew Garfield dropped out of this project. He will always be one of my favorite actors of all time, and I love, everything he does, and I would have loved to see him work with Guillermo del Toro for Frankenstein, but he has dropped out, but that's okay. I think the movie still looks like it's going to be amazing. It feels like how, Robert Eggers was perfect for Nosferatu. It feels like Guillermo del Toro is perfect for Frankenstein. So I can't wait to see what he does with this and what this movie ends up looking like. Next up on the list, we have the live-action How to Train Your Dragon. Now, this one's weird because a lot of people are iffy about it just because it is a live-action remake, and I typically am not for these. Like a lot of the Disney ones, I feel it's too much, but something about How to Train Your Dragon, it's an incredible story. You have the same director coming back. It just feels like this one is a bit of a recipe for success, the same way that, like, I think, like, Lion King was. A lot of people don't like Lion King, but that did feel like a recipe for success, and obviously it made so much money, and I feel like How to Train Your Dragon's in that same kind of boat, but this one just will be a better movie overall, and, I'm excited to watch that movie again in theaters, so yeah, that's why it's on the list. Now, we're getting into my top 8. I have 8 more movies that I want to briefly discuss here, and I'm going to start out with Mickey 17. So Mickey 17, I'm very excited for this movie. I'm not the #1 biggest Parasite fan like a lot of people. I do think it's an incredible movie, but I'm just not the biggest fan. But of course, the follow-up to that movie is going to be one that everybody's going to look forward to just because that was so monumentally successful. And I feel like Mickey 17 has been a bit screwed by all these delays and, just situations behind the scenes. So I'm really hoping that this movie can still be like a critical and financial success. But it looks great. Like, the trailer for this just looks very entertaining. It looks like an awesome movie. Robert Pattinson looks like he's given it his all. So I really hope that this movie is one that will still be, high up on my list come the end of the year. All right, next up, I'm going to hit 2 music-related movies in a row. Now, the first one is going to be Wicked for Good. Wicked blew me away. It was in my top 10 movies of 2024. It was high up on my list, and it wasn't something I was expecting to love so much. And that just makes me really excited for Part 2. And I know a lot of people think that, like, from what I've read, Part 2 is just not as critically loved in the play as the first act is. So I'm hoping that the movie will, work around that and make it just another incredible experience, because I thought the first movie was great, and I have no reason to believe that the second one will not also be great. Now, the next music-related movie I'll be talking about is what I personally believe could become the highest-grossing biopic movie of all time, and that is Michael. Now, this movie, if done well, can be one of the biggest, most successful things ever made. This is a movie about the most famous musician, pop star of all time. Michael Jackson is obviously one of the most iconic figures in just music and entertainment history, and I think that if this movie performs and is just well made, that it will be a massive success. So there's no reason to not be excited for it. Everything about it looks great so far, and I can't wait to get a real trailer. Now, here are my top 5 most anticipated movies. Like I said, it's not a complete ranking, but I have been kind of going in order of what I am most excited about. And the first one that I will discuss will be Jurassic World Rebirth. Now, my #1 favorite movie of all time is Jurassic Park, and the franchise as a whole, I just think, gets worse every single movie, basically, that's come out. I really liked Jurassic World in 2015 when it came out, but it's just not as good as, obviously, the original movie, and I think The Lost World still. I thought Jurassic World Dominion was one of the most disrespectful, bad movies I've ever seen in my life. I hated that movie. I was so upset. I was really, really excited about it, and then I saw it and hated it. So the franchise is not exactly highest on my, like, oh, I can't wait to see what they do next. But then everything about this movie feels like it could be good. Like, the script is, the same writer who made the original script for the first Jurassic Park and for The Lost World. And you're bringing in Gareth Edwards, who is, like, a known cinematic director. His movies look amazing. Look at The Creator, look at Godzilla, look at Rogue One. Like, his movies just look amazing, and he also has a bit of I think a darker feel with like a Godzilla movie, so this could actually be scary for the first time in a while. And then, of course, the cast. You have Mahershala Ali, his first movie since winning an Oscar, other than the Spider-Verse movies, but his first live-action movie since winning the Oscar, which is crazy. And then Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey as well. Just really exciting. I think that this movie has potential to actually be really good and bring a lot of fans back on board with the franchise after the abomination of the last movie. All right, now my top 4. Now, this one is going to be Avatar, Fire and Ash. You can't count out James Cameron. The Way of Water was not one I was super, super, super excited about. I really like Avatar, but then when I saw The Way of Water, I was blown away, and I had my kind of... Every time James Cameron releases a movie, which obviously this was the first one in a long time, but it made me think, like, you just can't count out James Cameron. Titanic is one of my favorite movies of all time. Terminator 2 is one of my favorite movies of all time. Aliens is an amazing movie. Avatar is an amazing movie. And The Way of Water I liked more than Avatar, so... Avatar, Fire and Ash, it's an easy one. The CGI is going to be amazing. It's going to be one of the highest grossing movies of all time. Everybody in the world will talk about it when it comes out, so of course I'm excited about it. Now, my top 3 remaining movies... I will go in kind of order of how I feel about them from number 3 to number 1, and number 3 will be Fantastic Four. Now, this movie in any other year would be number 1. This is a movie I've actually been waiting for so long. Like, obviously we have Fantastic Four movies, but if I was to go over to my bookshelf over here, I have so many Fantastic Four comics, the Hickman runs, I have the Alex Ross Full Circle, I have some of the original comics. Just Fantastic Four is one of my favorite groups of superheroes, my favorite teams, and they've never been done properly in the movies, and every single thing about this movie looks phenomenal and perfect and amazing, and the 60s vibe, the direction they're going for, the look of Galactus, the look of the actors, it feels like they know that Fantastic Four needs to be a hit. Kevin Feige knows that if they screw up this movie, that it will destroy the Fantastic Four in terms of audiences wanting to see them. But if they hit right with this movie, the Fantastic Four can literally carry the Marvel Studios name for like the next decade. The Fantastic Four have so much potential if done right, and this is a movie that if it is as amazing as the potential for it to be, that this will be one of my favorite movies of all time, I think. Now, getting into my number 2, this is going to be F1 by Joseph Kosinski. Now, a lot of people wouldn't put this high up, but for me personally, there's a lot of reasons why I put it at number 2. I'm a really big F1 fan. I haven't been watching my whole life per se, but when I was a kid, I used to watch the Michael Schumacher era of F1 with my dad, and then, a couple years ago, in like 2020, I got back into F1 again, and then one of my first full seasons where I really decided to get really into it and watch every single race was the 2021 Hamilton Verstappen era, and I got hooked on it, and now I still watch it, and I still love Drive to Survive. I love the Senna Show. I love reading about F1 and watching movies and documentaries, and I think that this movie has so much potential. Like, the main reason I'm excited for this movie is that it's made by Joseph Kosinski, and I will say that Mission Impossible is not on my list. I'm not exactly the biggest Tom Cruise fan, and for months when the trailers for Maverick were going around, I kind of was just like, I don't want to watch this anymore. I'm getting so bored of these trailers. I'm not going to see this movie. And then the word of mouth was really good for Top Gun Maverick. So when I went and saw it, just because I felt like I should, I was surprised to say I was blown away in every single way. And Top Gun Maverick was an amazing movie. The Tom Cruise was really great as well as Maverick, but the best part about that movie was the filmmaking. The putting IMAX cameras on actual fighter jets was like a surreal experience to watch. It did feel like you were in a fighter jet, and the action of the movie was so intense. And then when I heard that Joseph Kosinski was going to be doing the exact same thing but with Formula 1 and building an actual Formula 2 car to look like a Formula 1 car and putting it on the grid, on the racetrack with the real F1 drivers during practices and filming these intense action scenes where the camera's on the car and Brad Pitt is in the car, this movie looks awesome. Like the teaser trailer, dialogue concerned me a little bit, but at the end of the day, this movie is going to be more about what are the visuals, what are the action sequences like, and is the story going to be able to tell a decent story? And I put it at number 2 because it's an exciting movie for me. Now, my number 1 most anticipated movie of the year, without a doubt, easily, is Superman. There hasn't been a movie I felt like this about probably since, I want to say like The Batman or No Way Home, which is not long ago. These are a couple years ago. But like, this is like, I'm talking a superhero movie that feels like I'm going to be getting exactly what I want. Like, The Batman was like, all I've ever wanted was a story about Batman being a detective. I loved the original detective comics, and I just wanted to see a grittier detective take on Batman, and The Batman was one of my favorite movies of all time. Still to this day, it's an incredible movie. And I feel like Superman, James Gunn knows exactly what he has to do to show everybody who Superman is, why Superman is the way he is. And so many people, like, the problem with Superman is that, yeah, he's this guy who's, he can't be killed, he can't be hurt. And it's like, well, then what makes Superman cool? What makes him interesting? Because if he's so strong and he can't be hurt by anything, then what is his weakness? But the thing that makes Superman so incredibly amazing as a character and is that, like, the struggle for Superman is the fact that he is so powerful and so strong. A win for Superman and for Clark Kent is when he goes to work and he knocks over papers and he fits in. When people buy the fact that Clark Kent just kind of is this clumsy guy who is a bit of a nerd and a dork, when people see that in Clark Kent, that is like the equivalent of a regular person, getting a really great promotion, or just it's the idea of fitting in and kind of being told that you're doing a good job, just fitting in. And that's what it is for Clark Kent. So many of the Superman comics are depicted as him being very lonely and him kind of not having anybody to relate to, because sure, he can go fly and sit on the moon and watch the Earth if he wants to, but all Clark Kent really wants to do is to hang out with Lois and to spend time with his friends at the Daily Planet and to interview regular people who need help on the streets. Like, this is a man who cares about helping others, and it seems like James Gunn is putting him into a world where the rest of the world has moved on from that feeling. All the other superheroes look very corporate in the movie and look like they're kind of being controlled, and Superman looks like all he wants to do is to save that little girl and to fit in with his peers at work and to just be a regular person. And I think that James Gunn is going to nail this story. This is the most excited I've been for a movie in a while, and I'm expecting Superman to be my number 1 movie of the year. And if it is, I will not be disappointed. If it's not, then that just means that one of the other movies I talked about or didn't even talk about was just so fantastic. And that just is the most exciting part about making the most anticipated list. There are these movies that I am dying to see and that I know I will love for the most part. But there are also movies that I know that I'm going to love and talk about a year from now that I haven't even heard of yet. And that's just one of the special things about talking and being interested in things like this. But let me know what you guys think is your most anticipated movie, and let me know if there's movies that are on your list that are not on mine. I'm sure Mission Impossible is going to be a lot of people's most anticipated movie. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's going to be a great movie. But I hope you guys enjoyed this list. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know if you want to see my top 10 most anticipated TV series of 2025 or my top series of 2024. I still think I will do that. I haven't done it yet, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like, subscribe. Again, there's so much more I can do on this channel. There's so much more we can talk about. So I hope you guys have a great day.